Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the scanner readings on his ship's main screen. The numbers made no sense. Nothing that big should be floating dead in space without someone claiming it first. "Lisa, come take a look at this," he called to his chief engineer. The Lucky Strike was a small salvage vessel, barely 50 meters long, but it had been Jake's home for the past 8 years. His crew of 6 people had pulled enough valuable scrap from dead ships to make a decent living in the outer systems. Lisa. Brooks pushed herself away from the engine console where she had been working. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her work clothes were stained with oil and coolant. She had been with Jake's crew for 3 years, and he trusted her judgment more than anyone else on the ship. "What did you find, Captain?" she asked, floating over to the scanner station in the ship's low gravity. Jake pointed at the massive shape on the screen. 12 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide. The computer says it's Zephyrian design, probably military class. Been drifting here for who knows how long. Lisa's eyes went wide. 12 kilometers? That's bigger than most space stations. You sure the scanners are working right? I ran the diagnostics twice, Jake replied. Tony checked the weapons sensors too. The thing is definitely real. Tony Garcia looked up from his station near the back of the bridge. He was the ship's weapons specialist, though the Lucky Strike only carried basic defensive systems. Most salvage crews avoided fights rather than looking for them. The ship is showing no active weapons signatures, he said. Power readings are almost 0. Looks completely dead. Jake studied the readings again. Zephyrian ships were rare finds. The Zephyrian Empire had fallen apart 300 years ago, and most of their technology was still beyond what humans could fully understand. A ship this size would have been a supercarrier, capable of launching thousands of fighter craft and carrying enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Why hasn't anyone else claimed it? Lisa asked. Something this valuable should have been found years ago. Maybe because it's in the middle of nowhere, Jake said. We're 3 weeks from the nearest trade route. Most salvage crews stick to the main shipping lanes. The Kepler Belt was a region of space that most people avoided. It was full of asteroid fields and radiation pockets that made navigation dangerous. The Lucky Strike's crew had come here following reports of a merchant ship that had gone missing 6 months ago. They never found that ship, but they had found something much more interesting. Do the databases say about Zephyrian carriers? Jake asked. Lisa pulled up the information on her personal tablet. Most species consider them too dangerous to approach. The automated defense systems were designed to keep working even after the main crew was gone. Power cores are also unstable. Several salvage attempts have ended with ships being destroyed. But this one shows no power readings, Tony pointed out. Maybe the defense systems are offline. Jake considered the options. His crew had been working the salvage business long enough to know that the biggest risks usually came with the biggest rewards. Zephyrian supercarrier would contain technology worth more than his ship had earned in 10 years of normal operations. What do you think, Lisa? He asked. Can we get aboard safely? Lisa studied the scanner readings for several minutes. The main power core appears to be completely offline, she said finally. I'm reading some very low-level energy signatures, but nothing that looks like weapons or defense systems. There are several hull breaches that look large enough for us to dock with. The other crew members should hear about this before we make any decisions, Jake said. Activated the ship's internal communication system. Danny, Amy, Steve, please. Report to the bridge. The remaining 3 crew members arrived within a few minutes. Danny Park was the ship's mechanic. A quiet man in his 30s who could fix almost anything with basic tools and spare parts. Amy Chen had joined the crew 6 months ago and served as their general systems specialist. Steve Johnson handled communications and navigation. And he had been with Jake almost as long as Lisa. Jake explained what they had found and showed them the scanner readings. The crew gathered around the main display, looking at the massive shape floating in the darkness of space. I've never seen anything that big, Danny said quietly. It's like a flying city. The question is whether we try to board it, Jake said. Lisa thinks it's safe, but Zephyrian technology is unpredictable. We could be taking a big risk. We could also be looking at the biggest payday any of us have ever seen, Tony pointed out. Even if we can only salvage a small part of that ship, it would be worth millions. Amy looked at the readings on her own tablet. The computer estimates that ship could have housed over 50,000 crew members when it was active. The amount of equipment and technology on board would be enormous. But if the defense systems come online while we're aboard, we could all be killed, Steve said. Zephyrian automated weapons were designed to shoot first and ask questions later. Jake understood their concerns. He had lost friends to salvage operations that had gone wrong. Dead ships sometimes had surprises that could kill unwary explorers. But something about this particular find felt different. The ship had been floating here for who knows how long, completely powerless and forgotten. We'll take it slow, Jake decided. We'll dock with one of the smaller hull breaches and send in a small team first. If anything looks dangerous, we back out immediately. The crew spent the next 2 hours preparing for the boarding operation. They checked their environmental suits, gathered portable scanners and tools, and studied what little information they had about Zephyrian ship designs. As the Lucky Strike approached the massive derelict, Jake couldn't help but feel excited despite the risks. This was why he had become a salvage operator in the first place. Every dead ship held the possibility of discovery, and this ship was bigger than anything he had ever imagined boarding. The supercarrier grew larger and larger on their screens until it filled their entire view. Up close, the ship was even more impressive than the scanners had indicated. The hull was covered with weapon mounts, launch bays, and sensor arrays that spoke of incredible military power. Docking clamps secured, Danny reported. We're attached to hull breach 7. The breach looks like it was caused by some kind of explosion from inside the ship. Atmospheric readings? Jake asked. No atmosphere in the damaged sections, Lisa said. We'll need full environmental suits. The temperature is close to absolute zero. Jake activated the intercom to address his crew. Everyone knows the drill. We go in slow, we stay together, and we don't touch anything we don't understand. Our first goal is just to see what we're dealing with. As they prepared to enter the alien ship, none of them could have imagined that they were about to discover something that would change their lives forever and puzzle the entire galaxy. The alien fleet moved through space like a storm of metal and death. 200 ships sailed toward the human colony on New Colorado. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields that could stop any weapon the humans had ever built. War Commander Zextal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Fury. His red eyes watched the stars ahead. Soon he would reach the human colony and end this foolishness. The primitives would surrender or die. It made no difference to him. How long until we reach the target? The humans have 12 ships waiting for us. Small ones. Zextal laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. 12 ships against 200. It must be even more stupid than we thought. On New Colorado, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of his ship, the Defiant. Through the windows, he could see the colony below. 20,000 humans lived there, farming and mining and building new lives. Most of them had never seen an alien. They might die because of alien politics. Sir, we're getting a message from Dr. Turner, said his communications officer. Jake nodded. Alex Turner was the smartest man on the colony. If anyone could help them survive, it was him. Put him through, Jake said. Dr. Turner's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but excited. Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I'm listening, Doc. It's the mining equipment we use to dig out the mountains. It's powerful. Really powerful. I think we can turn it into weapons. An eyebrow? You want to fight alien warships with mining tools? Not exactly, Turner said, but close. Give me 12 hours and I'll show you what human engineering can do. In the colony's main lab, Dr. Turner worked with engineer Beth Collins. She was covered in grease and smiling like a kid with a new toy. Around them, colonists brought in mining lasers, excavation charges, and electromagnetic pulse generators used for clearing electronic interference from the mines. This is insane, Alex, Beth said as she rewired a mining laser. We're trying to fight a space fleet with rock-cutting equipment. Insane is what we do best, Turner replied. He was connecting 3 mining lasers together. The aliens expect us to use military weapons. They've prepared for that. But they have no idea what civilian equipment can do when you modify it. Beth laughed. You mean when you break it in interesting ways? Exactly. It's far above them. The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace. War Commander Zextal smiled as he saw the tiny human ships waiting for them. The largest human vessel was smaller than his smallest escort ship. Send them a message, he ordered. Tell them to surrender now or be destroyed. The message was sent. On the Defiant, Captain Morrison received it. The alien voice was cold and mechanical. Human vessels, you are trespassing in Galactic Council space. Surrender immediately or face annihilation. Morrison looked at his crew. Ryan Carter sat at the tactical station, his hands steady on the controls. Maya Johnson was at communications, her fingers dancing over multiple keyboards. Oh, these were good people. They deserved better than to die in a hopeless fight. Maya, open a channel to the alien commander, Morrison said. Channel open, sir. Morrison cleared his throat. This is Captain Dunn. Jake Morrison, of the Earth vessel Defiant. We're willing to discuss terms. On the Eternal Fury, Zextal was pleased. The humans were going to surrender. This would be easier than he thought. What terms do you propose, human? We need time to evacuate the colony, Morrison said. There are civilians down there? Women and children? Give us 24 hours to get them to safety. Zextal considered this. It was reasonable. The Galactic Council preferred to avoid killing civilians when possible. It looked bad in the reports. You have 6 hours, he said. Then we take the colony. 12 hours, Morrison replied. We have 20,000 people to move. 8 hours. That is my final offer. Morrison pretended to think about it. Acceptable. But we'll need to verify that our transport ships can leave safely. We don't want any accidents. While the humans and aliens negotiated, Maya Johnson was doing something else entirely. She was scanning the alien ships with every sensor the human fleet had. She was recording their communications, analyzing their formations, and studying their technology. Getting good data, she whispered to Ryan Carter. The ships are powerful, but they're running everything through central computers. Very organized. Too organized? Ryan asked quietly. Maybe keep watching their formations. I think I see a pattern. On New Colorado, Dr. Turner's team was working frantically. They had taken apart every piece of mining equipment in the colony. Beth Collins had created something that looked like a weapon designed by someone who had never seen a weapon before. It was ugly, crude, and completely unpredictable. Will it work? Asked Dan Foster, one of the colony's security officers. He was a big man who looked like he could fight aliens with his bare hands. It should, Turner said. The key is that the aliens won't know what it is. Their computers can't plan for weapons that don't exist in their databases. Beth wiped her hands on a rag. I've also been working on something else. Remember how the mining equipment uses electromagnetic pulses to clear interference? I've made those pulses a lot stronger. How much stronger? Don asked. Strong enough to scramble any electronics within a mile radius, Beth said with a grin. Back in space, the 8 hours were almost up. War Commander Zextal was getting impatient. The humans were still loading their transport ships, moving slowly like the primitives they were. Time is up, he announced. Human ships, withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio. We need a few more minutes. The last transport is almost loaded. No more time, Zextal snarled. You have 30 seconds to move your ships, or we will fire. Morrison sighed. I was hoping we could do this peacefully. Maya cut the channel. The alien commander smiled. Finally, he could begin the attack. He raised his hand to give the order to fire. That was when the humans did something completely unexpected. Instead of running away or fighting back, they began to talk. Not to the aliens, but to each other. Over every radio frequency, human voices began chattering, talked about their families, their fears, their hopes. They sang songs, they told jokes, they recited poetry. To the aliens, it sounded like chaos. Their computers couldn't make sense of it. but Maya Johnson was coordinating a complex battle plan using codes hidden in the seemingly random chatter. Every song lyric was a ship position. Every joke was a tactical instruction. Every poem was a firing solution. All ships, Morrison said. Quietly. Execute pattern Delta. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who ever said humans were too weak to survive among the stars. The battle was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they were really facing. War Commander Zextal raised his clawed hand. Fire on the human ships. Destroy them all. The alien fleet opened fire. Energy beams that could melt mountains shot through space toward the 12 human vessels. The aliens expected to see the primitive ships explode in balls of fire. Instead, something strange happened. The human ships scattered. They did not move in formation like proper military vessels. They did not follow any battle plan that the alien computers could understand. Each ship went in a different direction, flying in patterns that made no sense. What are they doing? Zextal demanded. His tactical officer studied the screens. Unknown War Commander. Their movements appear random. Our targeting computers cannot predict where they will go next. Captain Morrison's voice echoed over the radio as his ship, the Defiant, spun away from an energy blast. All ships, remember your training. Think like humans, not like machines. On the ship called Liberty, Captain Amy Rodriguez laughed as she twisted her vessel through a loop that should have been impossible. Copy that, Jake. Time to show these aliens what chaos looks like. Lieutenant Dan Foster, commanding the vessel Pioneer, dove toward the planet's surface. Alien weapons followed him, but he was flying too close to the ground for their big guns to track properly. I'm going to try Turner's idea, he called over the radio. Dr. Turner's modified mining equipment was loaded onto several ships. As Dan's vessel skimmed over the colony, he fired the makeshift weapon at the alien formation above. The beam looked wrong somehow, flickering and changing color like a broken light. The beam hit the shields of an alien cruiser. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shields began to flicker. The alien ship's computers could not understand what was attacking them. The mining laser operated on frequencies that were not in their weapons database. Impossible, Zextal growled. How are primitive weapons penetrating our shields? On New Colorado, Dr. Turner watched the battle through a telescope. Beth Collins sat beside him, holding a device that looked like a radio built by someone who had never seen a radio before. Now? She asked. Wait for it, Turner said. He was counting alien ships, watching their formations. Wait now. Beth pressed a button. The electromagnetic pulse generator she had built from mining equipment sent out a wave of energy. It was not like any weapon the aliens had ever seen. It did not try to destroy their ships. Instead, it scrambled their communications. Suddenly, half the alien fleet could not talk to the other half. Ships that had been moving in perfect coordination began to bump into each other. Their computers, which had been sharing information instantly, were now blind and deaf. What is happening? Zextal shouted. Store communications immediately. We're trying, War Commander, his communications officer replied. But the interference is unlike anything we have encountered. It appears to be random noise, but it is blocking all our frequencies. The noise was not random at all. Leah Johnson had designed it specifically to confuse alien computers while leaving human radios working perfectly. As the aliens struggled to coordinate their attack, the humans were chattering away, their seemingly casual conversation hiding complex battle instructions. Hey, Amy, remember that song we used to sing in training? Captain Morrison called over the radio. The one about the dancing bear? Amy Rodriguez replied, understanding perfectly. The song was code for Attack Pattern 7, that's the one. Dan. You know the verse about the honeypot? Sure do, Jake, Don Foster answered. He immediately changed course toward the alien command ship. To the aliens, this sounded like meaningless human babble. Their computers tried to analyze it, but found no military significance in songs about dancing bears and honeypots. They had no idea that the humans were coordinating a complex attack using nursery rhymes and old songs. Captain Rodriguez brought her ship, the Liberty, around behind a group of alien vessels. Her weapons were simple missiles, nothing compared to alien energy beams. But she was not aiming for the ships themselves. She was aiming for their sensor arrays. The missiles hit their targets. The alien ships were not damaged, but they were temporarily blinded. In that moment of confusion, Lieutenant Foster dove in with the Pioneer, its mining laser cutting through shields that were not designed to stop such strange weapons. One alien ship exploded, then another. War Commander Zextel could not believe what he was seeing. His superior fleet was being picked apart by primitive humans using weapons that should not work. Worse, he could not predict what they would do. Next, because they were not following any logical battle plan, all ships focus fire on the largest human vessel, he ordered. Every alien gun turned toward Captain Morrison's ship, the Defiant. Energy beams converged on the human vessel from all directions. There was no way it could survive. Morrison did not try to run. Instead, he flew straight to war at the alien flagship. "Jake, what are you doing?" Amy Rodriguez called over the radio. "Something stupid," Morrison replied. "Cover me." The Defiant flew through the storm of energy beams, its hull glowing red from near misses. Morrison was not trying to ram the alien ship. He was trying to get close enough to use Dr. Turner's most dangerous. Creation Turner had taken the biggest mining charge in the colony and modified it. Instead of exploding outward to break rocks, it now created a focused electromagnetic burst. It would only work at close range, but if it worked at all, it would shut down every computer system on the alien. Flagship Morrison brought his ship within 100 meters of the Eternal Fury. Alien point defense guns fired at him. But he was too close and moving too erratically for them to track. "Turner, I hope your crazy idea works," Morrison muttered, and pressed the firing button. The modified mining charge exploded in a burst of electromagnetic energy. The wave washed over the alien flagship, and suddenly every light on the massive ship went dark. The Eternal Fury, pride of the alien fleet, was dead in space. War Commander Zextel found himself standing in the dark, his bridge systems failing around him. Emergency lights flickered on, but his weapons were offline. His shields were down, and his communications were dead. "Impossible," he whispered. "How can primitives do this to us?" On the other human ships, the crews were cheering. They had taken down the alien command vessel using mining equipment and pure human stubbornness. But the battle was far from over. There were still 199 alien ships. They were very, very angry. Captain Morrison's voice came over the radio.com as ever. "All right, people, we got their attention. Now comes the hard part." But the aliens were starting to realize something terrifying. These humans did not fight like any enemy they had ever faced. They were unpredictable, creative, and absolutely refused to give up. Every time the aliens thought they understood human tactics, the humans did something completely different. The battle was just beginning, and for the first time in his long military career, War Commander Zextel was afraid. War Commander Zextel stood in the dark on his dead ship. Round him, his crew worked frantically to restore power. Humans had done something impossible. They had turned mining tools into weapons that could defeat the most advanced technology in the galaxy. "Status report," he demanded. "Main power is offline," his engineer reported. "The weapon systems are down. It will take 6 hours to repair the damage." 6 hours. In 6 hours, the humans could destroy his entire fleet. Zextel had never felt fear before, but now it crept up his spine like ice water. On the planet below, Dr. Turner was already working on his next impossible idea. Beth Collins watched him tear apart another piece of mining equipment, her eyes wide with amazement. "Alex, what are you building now?" she asked. "Something that shouldn't work," Turner replied, "connecting wires that had no business being connected. The aliens think in straight lines. They build weapons to destroy things. But what if we built something that doesn't destroy? What if we built something that changes things?" Beth looked at the strange device Turner was creating. It looked like a radio had been married to a mining laser and had very strange children. "What does it do?" "It talks to their computers," Turner said with a grin. "But not in any language they understand." In space, the battle continued. The alien fleet was confused and angry. They had lost their command ship, but they still had overwhelming numbers. Captain Morrison knew his small fleet could not win a straight fight, so he made sure there was no straight fight. "Amy, take your group and hit their left flank," he ordered over the radio. "Dan, circle around behind them. Make them chase you." "What about you, Jake?" Captain Rodriguez asked. I'm going to do something really stupid, Morrison replied. Again. Human ships moved like dancers in a deadly ballet. Each captain made their own decisions, adapted to changing situations, and improvised solutions that no computer could predict. The aliens found themselves fighting not one enemy, but 12 different enemies, who somehow worked together perfectly. Lieutenant Dan Foster brought his ship, the Pioneer, close to an alien cruiser. Instead of firing his weapons, he did something. That made the alien crew panic. He rammed their ship. Not hard enough to destroy either vessel, but hard enough to lock them together. Then he opened his airlocks and released a cloud of metallic dust into space. The dust was debris from Dr. Turner's mining operations. But when it got into the alien ship's air intakes, it began to interfere with their electronics. What is the human doing? The alien captain asked his crew. Unknown, sir, it appears to be ... sharing his garbage with us. The garbage was not random. Turner had mixed metal filings with electronic components from broken computers. When the aliens breathed it in, their internal communication implants began to malfunction. Suddenly, the alien crew could not coordinate with each other, Captain. Amy Rodriguez was trying her own experiment. She had filled her cargo bay with old Earth music, loaded onto every speaker system she could find. As she flew past alien ships, she broadcast the music at maximum volume. The aliens had sensitive hearing. The loud, chaotic sounds of human rock music were physically painful to them. But more than that, the music was interfering with their computer systems. Human music was not mathematical like alien communications. It was emotional, unpredictable, and full of patterns that alien computers could not process. Turn off that noise, an alien captain ordered his crew. Cannot, sir. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. Our computers are trying to decode the transmissions, but they make no logical sense. It's just noise, the captain said. Yes, sir, but our computers do not understand noise. They are using all their processing power trying to find meaning in meaningless sounds. While the alien computers were distracted by rock music, Maya Johnson was doing something even more clever. She had hacked into the alien communication network using the chaos as cover. The aliens thought their systems were just malfunctioning. But Maya was actually inside their computers, reading their tactical plans and sending false orders. Enemy ships are regrouping for attack pattern 7, she reported to Captain Morrison. Oh. Do you know that? Morrison asked. 'Cause I just read their orders, Maya replied with a smile. And I may have accidentally sent them a few new orders of my own. Half the alien fleet suddenly changed course, following orders that Maya had inserted into their command system. The aliens thought the orders came from their own commanders. They had no idea that a human was playing with their computers like a child with toys. On New Colorado, Dr. Turner finished his latest creation. It looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Beth Collins shook her head in wonder. What do you call this thing? She asked. I call it a confusion ray, Turner said. It doesn't hurt anyone. It just makes their computers think in circles. He aimed the device at the alien fleet and fired. The beam was invisible, but its effects were immediate. Alien ships began flying in random patterns as their navigation computers received contradictory information. Some ships thought they were upside down. Others thought they were flying backwards. A few started spinning in circles. War Commander Zextel, finally, got his communications working just in time to see his fleet falling apart. Ships were crashing into each other. Crews were confused and frightened, and the humans were picking them off one by one with weapons that should not exist. Retreat, he ordered. All ships, retreat to hyperspace. But even retreat was not simple. Humans had learned to interfere with alien hyperspace systems. Ships that tried to jump to light speed found themselves going nowhere. Their computers too confused to calculate proper coordinates. On Earth's moon, Commander Lisa Brooks watched the battle through long-range sensors. Her staff could hardly believe what they were seeing. The aliens are running away, Ryan Carter reported. 12 human ships are defeating a fleet of 200. No, Lisa said quietly. 12 human minds are defeating 200 computers. There's a difference. In the Galactic Council chambers on Zarian Prime, Ambassador Kethfer received the battle reports. His blue scales turned pale as he read the impossible news. The humans had not just survived the attack, they had won. How is this possible? Overseer Velthak demanded. Our ships are superior. Our weapons are more powerful. Our shields are stronger. Yes, Kethfer said slowly. But our thinking is predictable. We follow rules. We use logic. We plan everything in advance. The humans do none of these things. They are chaos, said the Threnody representative. No, Kethfer replied. They are something worse. They are creativity. The word sent shivers through the council chamber. Creativity was dangerous. It meant doing things that had never been done before. It meant solving problems in ways that no one expected. It meant that all their careful plans and superior technology meant nothing if the enemy refused to fight by the rules. Captain. Morrison's voice came over the alien communication channels, somehow having broken through all their security systems. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human fleet, he said. We're willing to discuss terms for your surrender. The aliens, who had come to destroy the humans, were now being offered the chance to surrender by the very people they had tried. To kill, it was the final insult. But it was also something else. It was mercy. And mercy was something the aliens had not expected from creatures they thought of as primitive animals. 6 months later, the Great Hall on Zarian Prime looked very different. The crystal table was the same, but the faces around it had changed. Where once only aliens had sat, now there was a new group. Humans. Ambassador Kevin Scott sat between the Zephyrian and Korvaxi representatives. He was a calm man with gray hair and kind eyes. Next to him sat General Susan Clark, who had once been a simple engineer on Luna Base. She wore a simple blue uniform, nothing fancy like the alien robes, but everyone in the room treated her with respect. The Galactic Council recognizes the human delegation, announced Ambassador Kethfer.
Right.
His blue scales seemed less bright than before, as if the events of 6 months ago had aged him. We welcome humanity as our newest member species. Aye. Overseer Velthok shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His insect-like face twitched with barely controlled emotions. 6 months ago, he had demanded the destruction of all humans. Now he had to sit next to them as equals. The humans have proven, Kethfer continued, that strength comes in many forms. We have learned much from studying their methods. Dr. Alex Turner stood up from his seat at the human table. He looked the same as always, thin and pale with bright eyes. But now, he wore the title of Director of Human-Alien Technology Exchange. Behind him sat Beth Collins, now called Chief Engineer of Hybrid Development. Thank you, Ambassador Turner, said. We're pleased to share our findings with the Council. He activated a holographic display that showed various alien technologies side by side with human modifications. The differences were shocking. Where alien designs were elegant and perfect, human changes looked rough and improvised. But the human versions worked better. Take Zephyrian energy manipulation, Turner explained. Your people can control energy with mathematical precision. But when we added human intuition to your calculations, we increased efficiency by 40%. The Zephyrian representative leaned forward. How is this possible? Our formulas are perfect. Beth Collins smiled. Your formulas are perfect for normal situations. But what happens when something unexpected occurs? Human intuition helps the energy systems adapt to problems your math never predicted. In the corner of the room, War Commander Zextel sat quietly. His once-proud demeanor was gone. The battle at New Colorado had broken something inside him, not his body, but his understanding of how the universe worked. Commander Zextel, General Clark said gently, would you like to share your experiences with our military exchange program? Zextel stood slowly. His red eyes were dimmer than before. I have spent 4 months at your Earth's military academy, he said in his deep voice. I have learned things that I thought were impossible, such as, prompted Ambassador Scott. I learned that losing a battle can teach you more than winning 100, Zextal said. I learned that the best plans are the ones you make up as you go along. I learned that chaos is not the enemy of order. It is the teacher of order. The alien representatives murmured among themselves. These concepts were difficult for them to understand. They had built their entire civilization on the idea that everything could be predicted, controlled, and perfected. Captain Jake Morrison entered the chamber, wearing the new uniform of the Human Alien Defense Force. Behind him walked Captain Amy Rodriguez and Lieutenant Dan Foster, all of them looking proud but humble. Captain Morrison, Kethfer said, your tactical innovations have been studied by military academies across the galaxy. How do you explain your success against superior forces? Morrison shrugged. We didn't fight your ships, Ambassador. We fought. Your expectations? You expected us to behave like you do? When we didn't, your advantages became disadvantages. But how do you train for such tactics? Asked the Threnody representative. How do you teach chaos? Don't teach chaos, Captain. Rodriguez said with a smile. You teach people to think for themselves. You teach them to adapt. You teach them that there's always another way to solve a problem. Maya Johnson, now Director of Galactic Communications, stood up. We've been working with your species to improve your communication systems, she said. The problem isn't your technology, it's that you only communicate facts. Humans communicate feelings, ideas, hopes, and dreams. That's why our meaningless chatter during the battle was actually a complex coordination system. You hid military commands in poetry and songs, Velthak said, still sounding bitter about it. We expressed military commands through poetry and songs, Maya corrected. To us, they're the same thing. Art and war, creativity and tactics, emotion and logic. You keep them separate. You mix them together. Dr. Turner activated another display. This brings us to our latest project. Korvaxi have the best biological warfare systems in the galaxy. But what if we use that knowledge not to create diseases, but to cure them? High Overseer Velthik's mandibles clicked with interest despite himself. Explain. Your bioweapons are designed to spread and adapt, Beth Collins said. We've modified them to carry medicine instead of poison. Now they spread health instead of disease. They adapt to cure whatever illness they encounter. The room fell silent. The idea of turning weapons into healing tools was so fundamentally human that the aliens struggled to understand it. Why? Veltok asked. Why would you help us improve our technology? Why would you share your innovations with those who tried? To destroy you? Ambassador Scott smiled. Because that's what humans do. We don't just survive. We help others survive too. We don't just win. We make everyone stronger. Commander Lisa Brooks, now Admiral Brooks of the United Human Alien Fleet, entered the chamber. She carried with her a simple document. The new defense treaty is ready for signing, she announced. What does it say? Asked Kethfer. It says that any attack on one member species is an attack on all member species, Brooks replied. But more than that, it says we're stronger together than we are apart. As the representatives signed the treaty, Zextal approached Captain Morrison. I have a question, the alien commander said quietly. What's that? At New Colorado, when you flew your ship toward my flagship, you knew you might die. Why did you do it? Morrison thought for a moment. Because my people were counting on me. Because sometimes the right thing to do is also the crazy thing to do. And because humans don't give up, even when the odds are impossible. Especially. Then, Morrison said, impossible odds just mean we have to be more creative. Zextal nodded slowly. This is why we never fight the humans. What do you mean? You do not just win battles, Zextal explained. You change the people you fight. You make them better than they were before. You turn enemies into friends. You turn war into peace. This is more dangerous than any weapon. As the ceremony ended, the representatives began to leave. But the humans stayed behind, talking and laughing with their former enemies. They were already planning new projects, new innovations, new ways to improve life for everyone in the galaxy. Ambassador Kethfer watched them and finally understood what made humans so dangerous. They were not content to merely survive in the universe. They wanted to make the universe a better place. That kind of hope, that kind of optimism, that kind of stubborn refusal to accept that things could not be improved was the most powerful force in the galaxy. The humans had won not just a battle, but the future itself, and they were generous enough to share it with everyone.